Live. I'm so excited you're here. This is going to be fun. I saw Eden for the first. We were on. I think I've seen her doing stuff all over, but I think we were on a show together, like a video thing. I think Kevin Coolby was there and some other people.
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, here we go. We gotta get it on the show. So I'm so excited that you're here. This is going to be a lot of fun. And I know a ton of people have a lot of questions because they've seen you everywhere. They're like, how, one, did you get that gig? And two, like, how can, so there's just be a ton of different comments, I'm sure, today. Connor Brown, the unsinkable Connor Brown. How are you doing today, my friend?
I'm doing great. Jeff, I just got off a cruise. Do I look sun-kissed, tan?
Oh, I don't know about, you're something kissed, but.
You do look like you have a nice little bit of color, Love it.
Yeah.
The color is red. The color is red that I have.
Yeah,
yes.
you didn't even go outside. You just sat in the bar on the ship, I'm pretty sure, at the pool is what happened. We got Tech Troublemaker saying, let's go. Yes, we're going to go. This is going to be fun. So if you guys, we're going to be talking about in-house creation today because Eden is a master at this, and it's kind of a new rising thing that, we were talking before the show that Eden was saying she's seen it on LinkedIn. I've had some people that are doing that as well that I know. So it's kind of this rising things, but a lot of people don't know about it, and it's really, really fascinating. So we're going to dive in that today. If you need help with content creation, or you're interested in in-house creation, or any of those things, or if you know somebody who needs help with that, make sure you mention them in the show below because we're going to be talking about that today. We want to make the show all about you, so ask your questions. We'll try to pull up as many as we can during the show. We've got the OG guys in the house. We got Chris Stone casted saying, hello, beautiful people of planet Earth. I don't know what show he's looking at, but I'm glad he's here. And then we've got people, Germany. Hello from Germany. Thank you so much for tuning in. Yeah, Saeed, thank you so much. Ask Ralph is in the house. He says, good morning, friend. So this is going to be a great show. So I'm going to go ahead and hit go on the podcast machine, and we will get started. So just a second here as I get everything. Where did my screen go? Well, here we go. Dun, 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 dun. Let's see, Connor. What'd you break here? So
I didn't break.
You broke it.
It was actually me. It was actually
Connor broke. Okay, here we go. Now we're gonna hit go, and then we'll get started. Here we go. Welcome to Social Media News Live. I'm Jeff C., and you're not.
And I'm Connor Brown, and this is the show that keeps you up to date on what's happening in the world of social media and more.
Have you ever wondered how one becomes a successful content creator in today's competitive world? Or maybe you're interested in the journey from podcasting to live streaming, or maybe you'd like to find out about the secrets of engaging an audience both online and offline. If those questions speak to you, then you are in for a treat. Today, we are excited to announce a guest who is excellent in the art of content creation. She is an expert who has transformed her passion for storytelling into a thriving career with Camo Studio. Eden Liu is going to be sharing how she got where she is, her insights, and her best tips for creating captivating content. So sit back, clear your schedule, clear your mind, and get ready for this week's episode of Social Media News Live. Eden, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me. I've been following the show for a while. Finally got the call up from the G League to join to get some playing time, and here we are.
That's right. That's right.
No more summer league for Eden. And if you don't know who Eden is, you should, because Eden has been podcasting for over 7 years and now produces and hosts live streams for Camo Studio. She specializes in collaboration, creator tools, and community engagement. We're excited to talk about what it's like being an in-house creator and just talking about the creator community in general. Eden, thanks again for being here.
Of course.
Well, we have got to do a shout out, and Eden's been a part. She was at a creator camp last year. Our friends over at eCam, they are the sponsors of the show. You can find out more about them at ecam.com/Jeff. They have a special summer sale going on right now where you can save 30%. If you go to that website, ecam.com/Jeff, you'll see a code there that you can enter to save 30% on your first purchase. But it's only going on for 5 more days into July. It is gone. So go to ecam.com/Jeff. And by the way, we talked about Creator Camp. Well, sorry, they're all sold out. But you can have a chance to actually win a ticket to Creator Camp. If you go to jeffc.com/win, you can enter for a chance to win your very own ticket to eCam's Creator Camp. And we will be giving a secret code for even more entries at the end of the show, so stick around for that. All right. we're going to jump right into this because, Eden, you have a fascinating story. Like I said, I listened to you and James Hicks interview that was on YouTube, and you have a kind of a fascinating story. But I want for you to share kind of the story of your unconventional path to becoming a content creator, because it's pretty interesting.
Sure. So I really like to call it an unconventional path because I never thought that I was ever going to be in front of a mic or a camera or live streaming or doing any type of writing or anything where people would be consuming anything that I'm expressing. So I however, was always an avid podcast listener. You know, when they popped up and we all found out about what they were in like 2012, everyone's listening to podcasts, even though we don't really know what a podcast is. I found this sports podcast on ESPN. It was the True Hoop Basketball Podcast. And it was just such a good show. They had like a roster of sports guys that they would rotate throughout the week. There was different shows for different days of the week. And I just started to like tweet about it because that was when like the peak of basketball Twitter was like,
right.
You know, was just thriving. It was before all of the casuals joined in on basketball Twitter. So it was still a cool space then. And I just started tweeting about the show, like my favorite moments or like sort of adding my own commentary, similarly to how we often add like our own commentary into the live chat of a live stream.
Right.
And then I just, you know, tweeted casually, never thought that anyone would actually see them. And then one day I get a DM from the producer of the podcast, Jade Hoy. He was my first producer ever. And he just asked me like for some thoughts about the show, asked me if I wanted to hop on a call with him actually. And I'm like, what do you mean hop on a call? Like, what does that even mean? Like you're like a super producer to me. You produce this amazing show that I listen to like every day that I love. And you want to ask me for a call? Like, what is this? Is this a scam? I didn't know what was happening. It was the most normal phone call you could have imagined. I hopped on this call with the producer. He just starts talking to me like I'm his best friend and that he's known me for years. And I'm just going along with the flow. And like, he asked me some thoughts about the show and we're just chopping it up for about like 20 minutes. And then at the end, he's like, oh, do you want to come on the show? And I'm like, I'm like some random on basketball Twitter. What do you mean come on the show? And then he's like, yeah, well, you know, we have like this Friday mailbag podcast. As you know, you listen to it. You've commented on it many times, which I'm like, in my head, I'm like, I never thought anyone saw these comments in the first place.
Yeah,
right.
So he was like, you obviously get the show. Do you want to come on? And I'm like, yeah, of course. Like, you have to say yes when your favorite podcast asks you to come on as a guest, even if you have absolutely no idea what that means or what you're going to be doing there. And so I way over prepped for a guest appearance. So it's called the Friday Mailbag, and it's the show that I actually still do to this day. It's called the Friday Mailbag. So basically the show is taking questions, mailbag questions from an audience. And so I don't know why I felt like I needed to do all this prep for like a mailbag show, because it's not like I have the questions ahead of time. But so I prepped some questions to bring to the show, as they did for sometimes when they would bring guests on. And I did that. And usually they just had the guest on once as a one-off. And then, you know, there's a new guest. And then I just know that next thing I know, I was on the show regularly every week. And I have no idea how I got there or what I was still doing there 7 years later. But I am still here 7 years later doing the same Friday Mailbag podcast. I also in between was working on a few different shows with them, especially in the beginning. But now with, you know, Camo coming into the picture 7 years later, I'm still doing the original show I was on, not doing as much as I was in the beginning, but I'm still part of it. And that's sort of how I got involved in content creation to begin with, is I literally feel like someone plucked me out of a hat, like my name out of a drawing. Like,
well, yeah, Web Squadron says exactly. Always sees the opportunity. That is very, very true. Now, what were you doing before that? Did you have any experience in like podcast interviewing or producing or any of that kind of thing?
So what I was doing at that time, I had been producing events in New Orleans. I lived in New Orleans for 10 years. I was doing event operations, training, and logistics for special events, block parties, fashion shows. So I would say that the only preparation that those soft skills, that event production gave me, was the ability to like organize things and like be prepared for the unknown. And like coordinate with people. But other than that, none of it had anything to do. I guess you could argue that training people on how they should behave at an event and how to not overserve alcohol. I guess that's content in a sense. It's educational somewhat, but that's a little bit of a stretch, you know? So that's about all the content creation that I did before then.
Wow. That is just amazing. Sorry, go ahead.
You can always, look for skills that you've done in a role and kind of apply it to other stuff, like what I always talk about, like having worked in the theme parks here in Florida, that doesn't seem very like markety, like it's applicable to a marketing career that I'm doing now, but it taught me really crystal clear, effective communication, right? Especially in like a high paced, really, really fast environment. That's important. And clarity and being as concise as possible. That's what marketing is all about, so you can take all these experiences and kind of apply them to what you're doing now. And that's exactly what you did, Eden. You seized the opportunity, you took what you had and you built on that into what you're doing today, not just with podcasting, but Camo. But going back to kind of those early experiences in podcasting, how has that, because you've been doing it for so long now, how has that shaped how you approach content creation today? You have a lot of experience of just showing up and recording those shows. So have you taken what you've done in the past 7 years or however long it's been and apply it to how you create content today?
So I actually have a kind of funny story about that, because podcasts in 2016, 2017, when I first got started, they were recorded and edited. We knew that podcast was going to be recorded and edited to be released later, but we treated every session like they were live. This actually wasn't so much intentional as it was the team of people that was on the podcast. They were all sports radio guys, like through and through. So I got my start in podcasting alongside like Zach Harper, Amin Al Hassan, like sports radio professionals who don't do silence, like now a few years into like live streaming and content creation, it's like, we know that like meaningful pauses and silences can be really effective for the audience to be able to digest what you're saying, or like just to make a point a little bit. I know that now, but that wasn't the type of content I was creating when I first started podcasting. And that's something that's carried over because we treated every single one of those podcast recording sessions like it was live. We didn't do silence. We filled every single second on the show. That's really translated to me being ready for live streaming. When I first started at Camo, I knew I was going to be doing like product videos and like doing Zoom calls with customers. I never thought that I was going to be doing as much live streaming as I am now, but now it's like my favorite part of the job. Like I love producing and hosting live streams, and the podcasting experience also, because it was never like my project. I was a part of someone else's project, that it was like, I had to really learn how to like show up and do my part and like to let go of that comes with when you are a part of a collective rather than like creating content and being like your own creative director. So there was just like a lot of things that I learned through that experience that just sort of evolved into how I create content today. And like treating every show like it was live, even though it was recorded and edited, is a huge part of like helping me feel prepared in being able to do what I do now.
So, what do you think some of the two mediums are pretty different? Like recording, I have friends who record to tape, was what we always would say. You record it and then you go back and edit it, like you say. And then there's the live stuff. Like what we do every Friday is live. It's raw. I screw things up. My camera quits working. Connor, his toupee comes off. Whatever it is, we have to deal with it, and it's kind of spontaneous. And I love getting the comments, like exactly from Chris Stone says, such a great story. They saw Eden's talent and seized the opportunities. Like I love being able to pull up and talk back and forth with people during the show. But how do you, when you so you were doing this podcast for 7 years, you were showing up, you were kind of creating content, and then you went to Camo where you're kind of doing your own live streams. It's not you with 4 other guys, it's you, right? It's you and maybe a guest or something. How is that transition? Did you have to like really flex on another muscle? Is there things you really started to kind of look at yourself and hone in on? How did you handle that transition?
Oh yeah, honestly, I'm not gonna lie. It was terrifying at first because here I'm like used to having 4 or 5 people on a show with me at once. And even my first few appearances at Camo were like with Leap Into Live, or you know, it was on other people's shows, so like I had someone else to guide the conversation. I didn't feel like I had to carry it all. But this is a little bit of me giving a little bit of a secret into who I am. My secret life as a K-pop stan is I actually learned a lot about live streaming from watching K-pop, my favorite K-pop artists live stream. Okay. Because it's them by themselves, and they usually like have such a chill demeanor. And obviously these are like super pop stars with like zillions of people watching at a time, and I'm just live streaming some Camo stuff to like maybe 20 people who may or may not ask questions. I didn't know what the vibe was, but I just always thought back to like the chill vibe that my favorite artists were able to create on a live stream by themselves, and create like comfort within a live stream session. Even if they weren't necessarily talking the whole time, they often weren't. There's a lot of silence. There's a lot of, you know, they're reading the comments right now, or they're eating, or which actually eating podcast, that's like my dream content. Well, that might be another whole other content topic.
Right.
But like experiencing that, like, and being able to ground myself with the experience that I got as a viewer from watching someone else's live stream that I enjoyed, helped me curate the vibe that I curate today in my office hours. And then I sort of like, the more you do it, it becomes muscle memory, and like you're like, you start to find little things that help you yourself, even without like always going back to like, oh, what did this person do when they were on a live stream by themselves? Like I just started to find sort of like my own ways to fill silence, or my own rhythm with bringing in comments. And it was a pretty big adjustment though. That's why I love to tell people that I want to collaborate. Can we collaborate? Because I'm just like, I don't want to do solo content. I don't want to have to do stuff by myself. Like,
it is different. It is really like when Connor is, you know, off on a boat somewhere, and somebody can fill in, and I have to do it myself. It's a different skill set. Like you have to like, you know, you can't like, you know, like a lot of times I'll switch to Connor and like I'm like blowing my nose or something, you know.
Yeah.
Like, and you know, I mean, you don't. It's another person. That's the only reason I have Connor, so I can blow my nose. But no, just kidding. He is amazing. But it's harder. And even solos, even like when you don't even have an interview, that is a real skill set. I call that's back in the Periscope days when you just sit there and blab to a camera. It's hard.
Periscope.
Yeah. I didn't say Google Plus, Chris, so you can't drink. But yeah, so anyway, that's it is a very different skill set when you have to hold the show on your own. And that's why I prefer having a co-host, just because it just seems, for me, the way I do things, it just seems to flow better for me. It's easier.
For the first few years of my podcast, I had a co-host as my best friend, Hank, because I knew the only way I was going to be able to start is if I had that security blanket. Now, he also loved what we were talking about. He wanted to be a part of it just as much as I did, but I knew that that's how I had to start. And then you take it from there. Speaking of Google Plus, Chris is responding with a lot of great comments, including a comment on my hair. Yes, this is my real hair. It's not a wig. They can't even manufacture this. But he also says, learning outside your space is so important. Eden is a master at this. And I totally agree with that. I think in order to be a great content creator, you have to be a great content consumer. And that doesn't just mean sitting on your butt and watching as much YouTube as possible. It means as you're watching something, being fully engaged in it and understanding how are they captivating us? What kind of tips or tricks are they doing? And then taking that and learning from it, kind of like what Eden was doing with her K-pop stars that she was following, you know, learning from that sort of aspects and seeing what's already working, right? But Eden, you know, if someone is an inspiring content creator and they're consuming a whole bunch of stuff right now and they love what they're seeing and they have dreams to do that themselves, what kind of advice would you give to them that are just starting out, that are ready to get it and kind of take it to the next level?
So I would say that the first thing, if for people that are just starting out, is to understand and to truly believe that your voice is valid. that your perspective, that your experiences are valid and that they have something to offer. And I don't mean that the content you're creating has to be something incredibly meaningful, that you're offering a lot of value, so much as this is something that took me a very long time to understand, because I had massive imposter syndrome, being someone that didn't even aspire to do content, that was just thrown into the situation, basically. There's a zillion people out there that are creating content, but there's also even more people that are just consuming content, and you don't know when it's your experience and your perspective that someone needs to hear. And then the second thing, probably like most importantly, is to really just do it. Like,
right.
I know there are so many people that I talk to about content creation, and I'm like this with my own content. I create a ton of content for Camo, but like when it comes to sort of like my own content, I get sort of decision paralysis for what do I want to create content about, or like the perfectionist thing where it's like, I, never feel like it's going to be good enough to put out there, but then it's like, it is, and you just have to do it. Like, I hate to go all Nike on you guys, but like
right.
Content creation, you can't just think about it. There is all the preparation, all of the testing, all of the research, all of the best practices you can research and find and do learning about. But until you actually do it and get in the reps to be able to learn from them and evolve your own system and your own process into like really shape your own content, like you're never going to do anything, like, because that first piece of content you put out is never actually your final product. The product is always evolving. And we all look back on our first pieces of content and we're like, whoa. I mean, it's not always cringe, but it's not who you are anymore.
It is always cringe.
Yeah, okay,
it is always.
I didn't want to. I was trying to be kind to the audience. Jeff said it. It's his show. He's allowed to say that. I'm being a good guest.
Everybody stinks at the beginning. One thing, and I'm going to go back to your interview with James Hicks, and that's on YouTube for any guys who want to go check it out. It was really good. You mentioned always trying to, and we don't know who said it first, but because James is going to make a T-shirt out of it.
1% less worse.
1% less worse. Like, if you can go and create something 1% less work, you are making an improvement. And I thought that was gold, because that really is what we're all trying to do. Like, just get a little bit better, and you're making progress. So 1%
less worse is my favorite thing. Every time you show up, every time you get in front of the camera, every time you get in front of the mic, just be 1% less worse than you were before.
Yeah, that's great. And on that note, this is a great question from Saeed. It says, any tips for 0 viewer streams, especially when just starting with live streams? Now, this is an issue, and everybody starts with 0. Everybody was on there and their mom just showed up, and you're like, Mom, don't say that in front of everybody.
Yeah.
But, but what would you tell Saeed here about the 0 viewer streams?
Yo, Saeed. So first of all, I assumed every single one of my live streams for like, I don't know, I assumed my live streams today would still have 0s. I still treat my live streams as if I prep for them as if there will be no one in the live chat. So my thing is to have sort of topics that you want to hit, and topics that you want to talk about, and topics that that you can sort of sound out yourself, as talk through them. Like, and it's okay to practice. It's okay to have a script written out. I'm not saying read the script while you're on the live stream, but I do this a lot where, just like, for example, for this show, Jeff sent me some questions. I definitely didn't type out very long an essay for every single one just so I could be prepared. I definitely didn't do that, but you could if you wanted to. And then that sort of gives your brain like a sense of comfort in that I am prepared for this. So Saeed, if you have 0 viewers on a live stream, or if that's what you're prepping for, man, prep a monologue, prep an hour-long monologue, and just be ready for it. Like, and like, be ready to break that monologue if you see someone pop into the chat and say hello to them, but like, just be prepared. Like, I know that it's a mental hurdle to feel like you are contenting to no one, but like, it's a rep. Just do it. Like, you're getting in a practice rep. Like, I want to say that I'm blessed to not have had any 0 stream viewers, but I kind of feel like it would be a good challenge to have, and to see how would I carry myself through it. And I'm not saying I hope it happens, but like, I think it would be a really fun exercise to see how any of us that do content regularly would be in a 0 viewer live stream, because it's like you're thrown in the fire, essentially. You got to carry that show. That show.
Oh, I've been in it before. We've had streams go down before, and then Connor and I have started to back up, and we had like 0 before because it was just the internet gods were not smiling upon us. So it's not easy to do, but it is. You're exactly right. It's doing the reps. About the being prepared, like I always have three sections with 5 questions each. That's my prep for the show. I do that. That's what I do to make myself be prepared. Now, Doc Rock will argue with me, and we've been on this before. Like, he thinks you should never have, and Lou Mangel is the same way, never have questions. And I'm like, because he gives it more flow and feel. And I'm like, yeah, but then you have guests who need something. I would rather have it than not. Now, you can argue either way. It doesn't matter. It's your show. You can do whatever you want. So whatever makes you feel like you're prepared, I say do that. And mine was always like, have those things ready because you never know what's going to happen. You could have geese outside your office.
The thing is, it's like a lot of the time the prep is not just for you, it's also for the guest, because like I hear you on that, and it's like I know Doc is team no preparation. He doesn't want any talking points. He doesn't want to even know the show topic. But I'm like, Doc, not everyone is a seasoned guest like you. Like, I feel like I'm a great guest, but if a guest bombs entirely, like they just don't have anything to say, or they just are completely unprepared, that is so much more work than I have to do to save the show, versus if I just give them something to prep for ahead of time.
Yeah. Corey says, forget imposter syndrome. If you feel it, we all do. Remember, an intern pushed a bug update straight to production with null identifiers and crashed half the planet, and it's still ongoing. So there's always somebody who's had a worse day than you have. Yeah, and then you have your fan club here saying, "Don't sell yourself short, Eden. They literally can't do the mailbag without you." So,
yo, Briscoe, shouts to my guy.
Yeah. So, and Richard says that's it. Nike trademarked the best phrase of all time. Just do it. It is. What is it? The
kind of is.
Success is just showing up. I can't remember who said that, but and Saeed says, yeah, suck less each time. Yeah, very very true. So. Yeah, less worse. Everybody likes that. Yeah, Ralph. Ralph puts out like a daily show, and I'm like, man, you talk about getting the reps in. He is the man when it comes to that. So,
you know what, Jay? Actually, Ralph asked an awesome question too that kind of goes along this same vein. He's so consistent, but he says he has a question. He's saying, do you see value in doing a live show? He already does a daily show, but he feels like it would allow people to ask me questions live, which is the whole point of his show. I mean, his show's called Ask Ralph, right? It's funny because and I were talking about this last night in our mastermind group that we do. The benefit of doing a live show, even if you are doing a daily show, you know, I guess my question is to both of you, because I don't do the live show other than showing up here each week, right? What's the value beyond just doing a recorded show versus the live show?
Eden, I'll let you go with that one.
You let me go? All right, yo, I'm gonna be perfectly honest. So I host a live streamed office hours for Camo, our software, and it is no scripting. Like, it's just Q&A questions. Bring your Camo questions, and I've gotten so much feedback about people just being so grateful that we offer this. A lot of the times it's even people that aren't able to make the live stream. They're just like, it is so amazing that you're offering a space for people to just come in and ask questions. And we actually do usually get a bunch of meaningful questions, and we got a bunch of feature requests, and like also a lot of questions that often people would never make the effort to like reach out to you via email or like write to you a DM for. But because you're already there and offering a space that they feel like they can ask sort of like the more simple questions, or like a question that, you know, you might feel awkward writing a whole email out for, but like being able to take a question live and answer it for them right then and there is so valuable for community building. It makes the experience a true two-way engagement versus even when you put out a recorded video, yes, you can engage with the comments later, but it's not in real time. You're answering questions for people in real time. Like, do you know like how valuable time is in that now that they don't have to wait for you to check your email and get back to them? Like, you just answered their question. You just saved them time. Like, we've gotten so much incredible feedback on all of the live stream stuff that we do that I'm just like, yes, do it live. Live. And then you don't have to worry about post either as much if you're doing it live. But that's another topic.
That's a great point. Now, one of the things I'll say is Ecamm's a master at that, because that's how their community, when they do their live stuff and demos and stuff, they do a really great job. So if you haven't checked that out, make sure you go and find their community. They have one on Discord. They have one on Facebook. So check them. I would say this is what I talked to last night with Connor and the guys in the mastermind, was that I think live video is going to continue to become more and more important as the rise of AI starts coming, because I can make a really good avatar right now of Eden and type out some stuff and it will look pretty close. And you got to remember, this is the worst that stuff's going to be. Like, it's only going to get better, but there's still not a way for AI to be me and answer questions and have the joke that I have with Chris Stone about Google Plus and these people who show up like Ask Ralph and Jim Fuse and all these people who show up almost every week. They don't have, the AI is not going to have a relationship with it. And I think people are going to be desperate for that. I think brands and companies are going to realize to connect with their audiences, they're going to need to live stream, because you can't fake it. Like, geese were outside of my office one time. Like, AI can't come up with that stuff, right? So anyway, that's what I would say about that.
On the point though of the geese outside of your office, those are the moments that people love the most,
right,
because they make them feel like you are a real person that they are making a connection with, like beyond just like the answering questions for them in real time. It's the human connection. Like, people just being like, yo, like, I'm like, yo, I'm really thirsty. I really want to go grab some water. They're like, yo, go get some water. It's fine. Like, you know, you can break a live stream and get some water, but it's like, you know, it's people see you as a human and not a software. Also, like, I'm using software because that's like my example. They're also a lot more likely to be a lot kinder to you when you interact with them. Like,
or when something breaks.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. It's like, how many times have we gotten frustrated at something that doesn't work the way it's supposed to? And like, next thing you know, you're writing out an angry email to the support team. And it's like, you know, it's not their fault, but like, this happened at a really inconvenient time. And it's like, when you build a human connection with your users as a software, especially with the rise of AI and all the things that Jeff just mentioned with AI and how content is becoming content vomit, you know, it's all becoming a little bit more homogenized. Right. It's the human moments that really stand out to people.
Yeah, there's a great
so funny. Yeah, because I scream at ALEXA all the time, or as soon as someone answers, I'm like, representative, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
And you give them the benefit of the doubt.
So this is a great point with about showing up and nobody's there at first, and a Web Squadron says, showcase what you can do. It took me 3 months to build a regular audience, and viewership grows and drops, and eventually regulars become your trusted circle of deviants and fans. Yes, I totally agree with that. That's a great point. So,
and I've popped in on Imran Web Squadron's streams. He does web stuff. It's really cool to see him engage with his audience, and it's like it's mostly site stuff, so it's not really stuff that I have that much expertise in. But like, when I'm watching, I watch a lot of other people's live streams to learn from them. And I'm just like, it is so cool when you can see a cohesive community being built through live stream. Like, Ecamm does it really well. Jeff, I think you guys do it really well as well. Like, when you see sort of like, you have like your core people that show up in every stream, you know, like, and it's like, that's like becomes like, when you know those people are going to be there for you, it gives you energy to keep showing up too.
Yeah, and Kira is also one of those core people, and she goes, we also want to set up guests for success. Often there are friends or connections. We would just want to have as much fun as we can do on the show, which is very, very true. And that's, you know, like Ecamm, Camo community, all this stuff, you know, we all are kind of get on each other's streams, and it's just fun, and it is a real community that we have. So,
yeah. And I think, you know, brands are understanding the importance of, you know, being a person and showing up and doing these live streams and coming up with those moments that are not AI created. Like, you know, the geese thing. I mean, in the moment, Jeff is sweating bullets when the geese are flying over his man. Right. He's probably sweating through like 2 or 3 bowling shirts during that episode. Exactly. But we're still talking about that moment because it's real and it's raw and it's cool. And that's what I think the benefit of live streaming and being a person and having a face first marketing plan, like I call it. It's not a faceless person. It's, you know, exactly, oh, Eden's with Camo. I know Camo. I know Eden. They go together. So brands are seeing this, but Eden, for you, you know, what does your role as an in-house creator for Camo Studio entail? Like, when you wake up, is it a daily thing? Is it just the office hours? But what kind of is this in-house creator role that you've built?
Yeah, so the funny thing is, as you talk about there being like an actual human face tied to a brand, is that I remember my first call with someone I forgot what even the call context was, but it was like on Zoom. And then the first thing they said, they were like, oh, you're the person that's on the site. You're the person that's on the landing page. You're in the product videos. And it was like, it blew my mind that like someone would recognize me from that. And I've also had like people meet me at events and they're like, oh, I thought that was just like, I didn't know that you were an actual person that worked there. Like we thought it was just like a hired model for the landing pages or something.
Right.
But to answer your question, so the funny thing is my role as an in-house creator was sort of shaped as I joined the team. Like my actual title is customer support manager and I lead community building. None of that actually has creator in it, but it started out as doing little mini product demos for our product updates. And then it became, oh, we should just do actual product update videos to show off all of the new features in like a more polished way. And then next thing I know, I am joining, live streams 3 months into the job with Ecamm and other companies to talk about Camo. And, we did a lot of work with Prezi back in the day as well. And it just became like, next thing I knew, I was just like working in video all the time. And then going on a lot of people's shows made me realize that we should just have our own show. We need to host our own shows and have like our own platform. And so I actually am the one that started our YouTube channel, and I didn't make all of the videos on it, but I like to say that I built that YouTube channel from the ground up.
Right.
And because I am the one that planned to do, one office hours live stream a month, one Camo classroom a month. And then I also choose which video topics we cover based on the audience questions that we get in live streams or that come through the help desk. And so it is a lot of representing the brand through video. Also, it helps that we're a video software. Like if this wasn't a video software, I don't know that I'd be on video this much, but I'm really glad that I am. And so it's working also with a team to sort of shape brand stuff and brand vibe, which is actually kind of something that I didn't really have like strong marketing experience. Like I've had like event marketing experience that goes with doing event logistics and operations, but like I never had marketing like training or anything. And so getting to work with my growth team on the brand stuff has been really cool, because it's like being an in-house creator also means you're not on an island by yourself. You have input, which can be a balancing act sometimes though, because it's a little bit different than say like the experience of being a creator and like partnering with a brand on like a campaign, because in those situations you are collaborating with a brand to create content, and usually that creative control is like negotiable somehow. But when you're an in-house creator for a brand, you are the brand. You have to be the brand the entire time. And so being brand minded has been something that I learned on the job, and I actually feel like I may have fallen too deep into it sometimes, because then sometimes when it comes to like creating content outside of Camo, I feel like I am still creating content as Camo, if that makes sense.
I totally. Yeah. So my path was kind of similar. Like I got hired to run Pinterest for Social Media Examiner. That led to another thing, doing their Instagram, and then it led to this and this, and then doing their live shows. And then, they were my biggest client for like 5 years. So I understand how that works. Was there an ad that you went and said, hey, I want to be creating content? Did they know you and say, hey, why don't you come create content for us? How did you get the actual gig for Camo?
So yeah, that's a great question. And I actually got the gig mostly based on my event production past and the podcasting that I was doing, because they were looking for someone to run the customer support team that was also going to be comfortable on camera. As a camera software, there was a team of developers that didn't have anyone that wanted to be on camera. Yeah. So their priorities were to find someone that was comfortable on camera and willing to do camera stuff. I'm going to be perfectly honest, I had no idea I was going to be doing as much live stream and video content as I am now. I literally had no idea. I thought it was going to be little product videos here and there, and that was it. But it's also part of like what I love about my role is that I've gotten to shape the role as an in-house creator along with Camo, if that makes sense. Like this, and that was in the job description. Like they were looking for someone with a set of soft skills, able to manage a team, able to be organized with process, and someone that was good at communication. Remember, Connor, you mentioned like the communication skills that I had before from doing event production and being effective with communication. That's also helped me in doing content, and like the podcasting stuff, which I'd only been doing for about 3 or 4 years at that time. Yeah, because I've been on this job for 3 years. that showed that I was able to speak clearly and concisely to an audience, even though it wasn't very much video back then. And my event operation skills gave them the confidence that they needed to for them to have in me, that I was able to run a support team. So it is sort of a role that came together, like a collaborative effort between me and Camo. And like when I started to see like the power of like what Ecamm was doing with the Leap into Live event that I did 3 months into the job, like I was like, oh, this is what I should be doing more of and will be doing more of. And I basically, you know, I get my ideas, I pitch them to the bosses, and we either agree to do them, sometimes they get shot down. I have a few really great ideas that have gotten shot down. But I still hold on to hope that I'm going to be able to do those shows one day, and it's a give and take. So I think I'm really blessed to have a lot of creative control over the work that I do, and it's given me the feeling that I'm building as like I'm building Camo along with them, and that's like a really meaningful feeling.
Yeah. There's a great comment here. Chris says, "I never get mistaken for a site model." You know, I have that. Me too. Chris, I've never ever had that.
Like, even with the beard, I feel like
no. Mostly, okay. if I go outside and stand real still, then people like get the body bags out and stuff. So, go ahead, Connor.
I think it's more. I mistake you. Didn't I see you on a wanted poster somewhere?
I think no. It's like I don't make duck calls either. I get that a lot. So
yeah, that's right. Yeah, Uncle Si. So I think, you know, for a lot of us, we have these kind of two lives, I guess you could say, when it comes to professional, right? It's who we're working for and then what we're doing on the side, right? And sometimes we're creating content for both, and sometimes it can overlap. Sometimes they're totally separate. Eden, you're experiencing that a lot. You know, you kind of just mentioned how sometimes you feel like you're creating content for yourself, but you're still creating content for Camo. So I imagine that that's kind of a hard balance. But in your role as in-house creator, how do you balance like the brand guidelines for Camo and the brand goals for Camo with what you want to do stylistically and your personal creative voice? How do you balance that?
It's a lot of communication at first, if I'm being honest. I am 3 years into the job, and I have things in a point where I feel comfortable, and like I know which I kind of have an idea of how I know my ideas will be recepted at this point. That wasn't the case the first year of the job. Like there was a lot of back and forth, and a lot of like, it really does take, it's a lot of balance. It's a lot of balance, and just really, I also do a lot of yoga. So, you know, balance is something like that's very core to my life. But I will also say I have become mostly brand first these days. And that's something that I am trying to strike a stronger balance for. But being brand first means that my content is going to be safe, and I'm not going to get in trouble for it. And that's actually, you know, we all know about cancel culture. And of course, I'm not talking about anything that I would get canceled over. But when you are an in-house creator for a brand, when you're the face of a brand, even in your own content, you have to keep that in mind. Like that's just the reality of it. You're going to have to find balance for yourself in what you want to express creatively and what you feel like aligns with the brand. And I don't think that that is something that is going to change very soon, because brands have a certain appearance and a certain vibe that they're trying to communicate and be perceived as. And if you are going to be an in-house creator for a brand, that is something that you're going to have to accept. So I do think that not everyone can do it. Not everyone can do it. So that even depends on what you're looking to do.
And it also goes back to like, even if you want to be hired as an influencer to make a product video or something like that, you've got to keep in mind what you're, you know, how you are portrayed in other platforms, because that can affect your bottom line. Like, some family companies won't touch certain people because of, you know, some of the content they create. So you have to be very, very careful and think long-term of like, okay, I'm doing this now, but you know, I probably won't be doing this for the rest of my life, kind of a thing.
Yeah. So I have a really good example on that actually also, is because, so for the Friday mailbag show that I do with the podcast that I've been doing for 7 years, is we get some really random out of pocket questions sometimes, because that's the vibe that was curated on that show. And that's fine for that show. I have there since becoming, you know, an in-house creator for Camo and getting this job, I sometimes just don't answer questions that I feel like where I might say something that puts my image at risk. And that's fine. The people that I've been podcasting with understand that and they respect that. But like it does happen where there's sometimes like we do video, we don't live stream it, but sometimes I'm like, yo guys, like can we cut that part out before you post the video? Because like I can't actually be searchable or even have my face connected to that conversation, even if I didn't chime in on it. So
yeah,
that's the reality of it.
That's smart. That's very, very true. I want to, and by the way, I want to talk about your community. I want to talk about how you do your collaboration community with your role at Camo Studio. And the cool thing is, I mean, I know it's working because you brought a lot of people here to this show. Like you got your community following you, which is a great thing. And that, I mean, that's value to Camo that you're building this community. So can you talk about the things that you keep top of mind when you're thinking about your community and how you're doing your office hours or whatever inside of your Camo relationship?
So this might be a little bit of a cop-out answer, but I really just try to be me. I try to be very human. I like to think of myself as someone that's very good at relationship building and very good at cultivating relationships. I'm very good at communication. I just said I'm very good at a lot of things, but that's not the point. The point is, when you are building community, especially on behalf of a group, I actually also did the community building effort for the podcast that I was doing. Like I led a lot of our community building events. You have to be someone that people want to hang out with. And I'm lucky to already be someone that people want to hang out with. But I really just try to treat every person like a normal person. Like I am genuinely interested when people leave comments with like really fascinating, interesting use cases that they found for Camo, that some that we would never have thought of ourselves. And some of it's like really cool. And I will just like, whenever I see people that reach out to us, whether it's through the help desk or if it's like in a comment, I'll just say that. I'll be like, hey, like, it sounds like you're doing some really cool stuff. Like, you want to hop on a call and chat or just like share a little bit more about what you do. We'd love to follow along. And it's genuine. Like, I really try to keep that in mind. Like, it's like, sometimes people do really cool content, but if there's not really alignment with what we're trying to accomplish, you know, at Camo, then it's like, I you know, even if what they're doing is cool, that's not necessarily someone I need to like put time into building a relationship with. And even if I did try to build that relationship, it wouldn't be as genuine or effective because I would know that I should probably be putting my efforts somewhere else. So it really is approached from a very organic human perspective. And I will also say maybe sometimes my bosses wish that my process could go a little bit faster, but I'm like, you can't rush friendship. You can't rush relationship building. Like, you know, I am someone like I meet a lot of people at events and we talk and chop it up. And I'm not going to immediately come home and ask them to come on my show after that. I'm going to like cultivate that relationship for 3 years. I'm going to, not 3 years, 3 months at least, you know, where I'm like, where I'm checking in on what they're doing. I'm commenting on their stuff and like genuinely watching their shows and engaging with their comment and learning about who they are. And then like slowly building that up over time. And then when there's like a topic that comes up that, you know, we happen to want to cover and there's alignment there, that's when I make the ask. And I've never gotten turned down yet because I like to think that my approach to relationship building is very, like, I hate using this word, but like holistic, if organic, that makes sense in any way. Yeah, organic. Like it's really not coming from anywhere other than like, I'm a human, you're a human, there's alignment between what we do, and I'm genuinely interested in seeing what we might be able to do together.
Yeah, that's a great point.
That's awesome. I think we have a couple great questions here, and one from Teacher David that I really like says, do you think more branded companies should reach out to individual creators because some of the best ideas come from individual concepts or ideas? It's almost like a notion of reaching out to like an outside consultant, right? Different eyes, different clarity, different look at things. So what do you think about that? Obviously, you're in kind of that situation, Eden, but brands reaching out to individual creators for help building on their own concepts. What do you say to that?
I think it's a great idea. So I did a show recently. We all know Stephanie Garcia in this space. She just released her book, The Ultimate Guide to Influencer Marketing. And I think that is kind of what the book is about, is how the relationship between brands and creators is evolving. It is evolving very quickly because brands are starting to realize the power of organic, like user-generated UGC, and like even like paid partnerships, because just like the comment said, like individual ideas can sometimes make the content feel more relatable. And like when the content is more relatable and it's presented in a way that's not so corporate and brandy, I'm actually going to watch it. So like when it comes to scrolling like through Instagram, for example, I scroll through all those sponsored ads unless it happens to be it's a creator that I'm already following usually. Right. And then they're just presenting it in a way that's similar to their usual content. It doesn't even feel like an ad to me at that point. Mm-hmm. And so that I feel like is actually what's effective these days, because like a lot of, you know, MZ, like millennials and Gen Z, like we're trained to just like our brains don't even process an actual ad anymore. Right. We just keep scrolling. Like, so I think it's absolutely essential that especially companies that are trying to grow, smaller SMEs, like, or even big brands, like to be able to maintain their standing, like they got to learn how to get in touch, and through creators is the best way how to get how to not be out of touch. I think it's more important to not come off as out of touch than it is to necessarily be in touch, because, you know, who is anyway.
Right. And the thing is, I think smart brands are doing that. And speaking of paid sponsorship, don't forget our sponsors of the show. See how smooth and easy that was? I love Ecamm. You got it. That's what we're doing to make the show. That's what we use for podcasting. It's just an amazing tool. I was a user way before they sponsored the show. You can find out more about them at ecamm.com/Jeff. They're having a summer sale, 5 days left, 30% off if you use that code when you go to ecamm.com/Jeff on the screen. And for the people listening, I'm going to do what Dave Jackson says. It's Ecamm. It's Ecamm. That's with 2 M's. So, it's so good. So there you go.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So, let's see. Do you, go ahead, Connor. I know you had a question in the comments.
Yeah, absolutely. I know we're just talking about great tools that we love using, like Ecamm. And, you know, even if you guys out there don't want to do live streams, I record in Ecamm exclusively, and it's my favorite thing in the world. But tool wise for creators, Eden, what do you find like those couple of tools that are just indispensable that you couldn't do your job without when it comes to working at Camo Studio in your role? What are your favorite tools?
Well, Camo for one. No, I'm just kidding.
No, it's good. It's a great tool.
Yeah, no, I do use Camo every day. But outside of Camo, Ecamm is one of my top used softwares. I cannot imagine going live without it. If I'm being perfectly honest, I will be getting set up with a Windows machine and I'm going to have to learn how to live stream on it. And that's the part I'm most worried about. But other than Ecamm, I would like to say I'm Adobe girly all the way. Like I'm on that creative suite. I grew up with Photoshop and using Photoshop. Adobe Express is great. It's a love-hate with Premiere, but when it's the tool that you have been using and you know how to use, then it's the one that you're using. And it's like, you know, necessary evil. I feel like, is there truly a video editing tool that everyone that just loves across the board? There's not. So Premiere is my poison of choice. And I love tools like Descript, Opus Clip, etc. I'll be perfectly honest, I'm not that good at the repurposing. I need to be better at it. It is an area of improvement for me. And with the AI tools that pop up every day, I am still doing sort of like configuring on like where to make them fit in and work for me the best. Because right now, when it comes to like AI tools, I mostly just use them for unblocking, if that makes sense. Like if I'm really struggling with like how to like dumb down an explanation or like just have like an email that it needs to be delicately worded. But I don't have like the full AI tech stack built out to totally streamline my process yet. So
if you are an Adobe girl, well, their new generative AI stuff is amazing. Like for replacing backgrounds, doing YouTube thumbnails. Now it has even in Illustrator, you can have it create vector graphics for you. I mean, oh my gosh. Yeah.
What?
It's amazing.
Oh my God.
Yeah, you got to check it out.
Vector graphics?
Yeah. So for logos and stuff, it's pretty slick.
Clutch,
anyway, you had mentioned when we had kind of done a pre-chat about you coming on the show, is you said, well, I just did this thing that was an offline live show that you did for your podcast network. Talk about that, because Connor and I, we meet every year at an event called Momentum. That's amazing that we go to, and both he and I are speaking there this year. And it's just a great live events when they're done right are amazing. Like they just networking and teaching and training. So talk about what you did and how you did it and how it kind of evolved.
Sure. So the live event for the podcast, it's really just a live show. So it's not like a full-blown conference. There's not like a bunch of sessions planned.
Mm-hmm.
It was a weekend planned around a live show. The live show itself is basically the podcast in person though. Like it's on a stage. Have you guys ever been to a live podcast show before?
They did one at Podcast Movement where they had, oh gosh, the guy who did 99% Invincible did one live from the stage, which was really cool.
Okay. Well, so ours, because we have a lot of different like rostered panel shows, like each show has at least 4 people on. So it's like we break it down into stages and we have a lot of special guests. Like for this last one, my sports people will know of Nick Wright or Bomani Jones or Pablo Torre, who we got as special guests to come on the show, the live show on stage. So it's a stage performance. It's just for one night, but there's a lot of like community activities around it because, you know, we think about it from the perspective of we have people coming from all across America, sometimes the world, to come to this live show and experience this. We should, you know, maybe make it a little bit more than just coming to the show. And so, you know, we would like organize little get-togethers on Discord, whether it's getting food. We didn't this last time, but in the past, before the pandemic, we were doing a lot of live shows. Then also we would have like a karaoke night where it's just like a lot of people that want to come everyone can just join in, and it's like a big party, a big get together with the people on the show and the listeners of the show. And it's a lot of organization and a lot of community building and a lot of like it's a lot of organization basically. So that's also where sort of like my event production past sort of helped with being able to like help out with community stuff, is because it's just about organization and logistics. And like we would use like Discord to like get like head count, do surveys, etc., and to see like what people were interested in. And often people were really just interested in hanging out with other people. So we just kind of like picked stuff that we wanted to do. Like I was like, let's go get KBBQ, Korean barbecue. We got like a little group together and we like got lunch before the show a little bit.
So how many people like showed up for it? Like, I mean, is it like, did you have to get like a concert hall? I think what kind of
so it was at the Racket in New York. I don't know the final head count. I know we had over 100 people at the show.
That's cool.
Yeah. It was at the Racket NYC. It was like just like a little mini stage, like it's a small venue, but like very like there's a DJ booth, and so like there's like also graphics being played on the screen. My favorite segment is when there's a movie podcast, Cinephobe, on the podcast network, where we did a trivia segment, and we had like people from the community, from the audience, come up on stage and answer trivia questions, which I thought was just like sort of taking the community engagement to like the next level beyond just like being in the same room with people. You're actually giving them an opportunity to like be involved in the show itself.
That's brilliant.
That was sort of like the overarching experience. It was really, really amazing.
Well, I think it's brilliant because you're taking people offline and meeting them, you know, in person and cementing that relationship. And that just, you know, and then when you go back into your show or whatever, I mean, there are people in the comments right now that I met at Momentum and they show up every week. Like Kira's here, some other people, Corey is here. I mean, and those are people who I actually sat down with at those live events. And that is huge. That is huge.
So that's the thing, is like, if you think about it, all of the community building prior to live shows was all done online. It's through social media like Twitter and IG, or like, you know, just podcast reviews. Like, you know, these are like people that you only know as like their internet avatars. And like when you get to like chop it up in person with these people, you know, like online interactions are so intentional, you know, like it's asking a question, it's a CTA, it's a hook, you know, but like when it's in person, you're literally just like hanging out, and like topics of conversation pop up that you would never have intentionally over the internet, or it's like you're getting a drink and like you find out someone always orders an old fashioned now, you know, like it's like these little tiny things about hanging out with people that you just like would not usually get from interacting with them online, that just really strengthens those relationships like so much more. Like it's just, these are become real people in your life now. A couple of my best friends are people that I met at live shows of the podcast, especially when I was first starting out. Like it's pretty incredible. And like just to feel when someone tells you that like they listen to your show every single week, that they love the show, they remember a specific take that you gave, that they that like stuck with them, that made them feel like they could really relate to you. Like those are the moments that like as a creator have been like the most fulfilling to me, is just like meeting someone that listens to my content. Or even with Camo, it's happened like where someone was like, oh yeah, I watch your office hours. I was like, what? Oh my God. Like you're a real
they
person.
never comment,
like,
but they
yeah, it's like there's
yeah.
so many people there that never comment, that you just never know. And it's just like, you just, even if you're just offering a space to hang out, the podcast that we do is very unserious. And even just like with Camo office hours, people have said like, I don't even have a question, I'm just here to hang out. And I'm like, yo, that's awesome. You're just here to hang out because like, because you can.
I'm sure people now are wanting the first Camo live event to come out, like for you to do. That would be, you know, there's something about the smaller conferences, and Connor and I have talked about this, is that it's more intimate. And that's why we love, like Lou caps it at like 50, I think, people, and like Ecamm's Creator Camp is capped at like, you know, 100 because it's very intimate. And you can, as a speaker, it makes me, I can help people. Like instead of getting on the stage at a big place and then going off and whatever and talking to, you know, a handful of people waiting for you in the halls, being there and doing like table talks and like getting in with them deep into stuff, man, that gives you such a good feeling, because you're actually, you see the results that are happening. So yeah, don't badmouth the smaller conferences, because some of the best stuff happens there. Speaking of the man, the myth, the legend, James Hicks is coming in saying truth. Yeah, we were talking about your great interview with Eden earlier in the show, James. So we'll have to chat later about all this. So, and then lastly, Rich Watts, the amazing Rich Watts says, hi, all, been here for the full hour soaking in this great discussion. Couldn't agree more about the value of connections and community. They are often the birth of great things that come later. That is a perfect way to end the show. We are actually over. Eden, thank you so much.
Wow, I didn't even realize we were over time.
It's so much fun. So so much great value. Tell everybody where they can find you, what you got going on, all your social stuff, and let people know where to find you.
My personal socials are at Pikachu Lou. That is Pikachu spelled like the Pokemon, Liu after it. I'm also behind a lot of Camo socials, at Reincubate, at Camo app on YouTube. I'm all over the YouTube channel. Come hang out with me on one of our office hours live streams.
Awesome. The amazing, unsinkable Connor Brown, where can they find out about all the stuff that Connor has to offer?
All the stuff I got going on, you can go to vacationkingdoms.com, and you can follow us at Vacation Kingdoms across the social medias. Great show today. Be sure to follow Pikachu Lou. Love that username.
And next week, we have the amazing Mike Russell, who does Music Radio Creative, but is deep into AI. So it's going to be an all AI show, which will be so much fun. So make sure you guys stop and check that out. I'm excited to have that. I thank you guys for watching. Thank you, George, for watching. Brusco, Corey, Eden, you're just commenting even on your own show at the same time. You're just a multitasker. Kara is here as well. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you to our sponsors, eCam.com/Jeff. Save 30% on your first purchase. And with that, we'll see you guys next week. Bye, everybody.